Okay, I'm on. Well, thank you all for joining us here tonight. And my goodness, Marcy, I am so honored to be carrying the baton on the next leg of the journey. I think this is an amazing program. I couldn't have said it any better than John already did, so I'm not going to attempt to. What I do want to do, though, is to say, it seems kind of interesting that we started, and here we are again with lakes. Now, I don't think hydrilla was put in the lakes for that purpose, but nevertheless, we're here. So you guys know the format, our rules of engagement, right? We'll follow the same format as what you've seen. You're certainly welcome to bring cards with you, handwritten questions. Did anyone not receive a ticket or a card? If you didn't, there'll be ladies in the back that will give out tickets and cards. So we appreciate them. I want to welcome our board members here tonight. Board, if you raise your hand. Thank you for your leadership. I want my hats off to you. We are off and running on a great 2017, and I appreciate each and every one of you for your leadership. You know, as I mentioned in my December 1st presentation, our lakes are a win-win for lifestyle and growth. And as Brad will tell you, our lakes actually are a significant portion of our 26,000 acres. What is it, like 8%, Brad? 8%. 8% of our land mass are devoted to lakes. So we're committed to the success of our lakes and to their enjoyment. And that's what tonight's presentation is about. Not just one lake, but all of our lakes. We have a great panel here this evening. I'm honored to be sharing the stage with each of you. The years of service and expertise, we appreciate that. I want to welcome up first, though, Bill Staggs. Bill is our Director of Public Works, and he'll kick us off and introduce our panel. Now, here's a little bit about Bill, if you don't know him. Bill holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. He's a registered professional engineer. His professional career includes positions with the Arkansas Highway and Transportation Department and North Little Rock Wastewater Utility. He also spent time in planning, zoning, code enforcement, and roadway arenas. Bill, I think you had some other certifications that I couldn't pronounce. I'm sure you'll tell us about them. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Staggs, our Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Ms. Nally. No director here can really do anything without a lot of good help. I have a good staff. We have a good committee for lakes, and I really appreciate each one of them. I know we have a goodly number of the committee members, and if you don't mind, I'd like for you to stand and be recognized. Mr. Whiter is our board liaison, and we'll get into introductions of staff in just a minute. I wanted to introduce really what we're here for and let you know more about our lakes, let you know what we do, let you know how we are trying to keep these lakes a pristine asset to the village. Each lake has the same importance as any other, and we're trying to do everything we can. We try to respond to your problems. We try to respond and make sure that you have the facilities that you like and can use, and it's here for all the village. So we want to make sure that it's handled properly, and we're building on the budget process, and we're building on our assets and trying to increase our staff in assisting Brad Meredith in the direction that we need to be going. You'll see here that we have the portions of what we call our 5-year plan in the Lakes Department. Staffing is very important to us, and the Lakes Committee has made a good effort in making sure that we kind of progress and make sure that we have the staff to operate these. When you think about 2,000 acres of lakes, and right now we're looking at a staff of really 2. We're bringing on additional staff in public works that will be used in the lakes, used in streets, used in sanitation. So they'll have additional hands to help them with the trouble spots. Our 5-year plan includes the capital improvements and maintenance, lake drawdowns. You'll see that in the reports, and Brad's going to present this in his slides. We want to look at lake safety always, and Brad's favorite is the fisheries. And I'm bringing on what we're calling our watershed management and preservation. And the title that Leslie was referring to is Certified Floodplain Manager. Certified by FEMA. Don't let that impress you too much. I mean, it's a hard course, but the idea here, folks, is that we need to protect our lakes and try to keep the materials out of the lakes as much as possible and try to reduce the amount of dredging that we have to do. So that's the next step in our plan and adding that to it. The 5-year plan is dynamic, and we want to make it proceed. Brad now is going to tell you about each lake and what's happening in those, our challenges. Brad has a master's degree with a interest in, how do you call it, emphasis, thank you. The word slipped away. He has an emphasis in fisheries. He has his bachelor's degree in fisheries. He's been here since August of 2014. And so without any further ado, I'll present the program to Brad Meredith.
Thank you, Bill. As you all know, we have 11 recreational lakes, but we also have our water supply lake. They encompass about 2,100 acres total water, from 11 acres in Lake Segovia, which some people may not even know where is. Small, tiny lake west of Lake DeSoto, all the way up to our big lake in Lake Balboa. When I get a little bit nervous, I talk a little bit fast. Like I said, we have 11 recreational lakes encompassing about 2,000 acres, and our Lake Lago is another 100 on top of that for, as Leslie said, 8% of our total surface acreage here in the village. One thing that we've done, 2016, we had a lot of volunteers. This is all volunteer data. This is collected by homeowners, turned in weekly through the summer, bi-weekly through the winter months. We have representatives on each lake that go out and do this, and we're always looking for others. And as you can see on Lake Maria and Lake Segovia, we don't have any volunteers on those lakes. So if you are on one of those lakes and are willing for us to show you some of this and willing to take this information, I'm happy to show you, and we'd be happy to supply the Secchi disc and the staff readings that come up following this. This is an 8-inch disc. We lower that beyond sight and then pull it back up just to where we can see it. That's how we measure our lake clarity. As you can see, Lake Balboa is very clear, by far the clearest lake. And one of the surprising ones on this is Lake Estrella. It's 21 acres, yet is very clear also. This is what I was saying when I mentioned the staff plate. This is a staff plate on Lake Balboa. You can it may not be really clear, but you can see that the water is 3 inches high. We put these on stationary docks at homeowners' residence, and they read these and do the Secchi readings and report those back to, in most cases, one of our Lakes Committee representatives, who's been Mr. George Maxey, Dr. George Maxey. The last couple of years has been keeping up with this for us, and that's been very helpful for us. We note fluctuations in water level. You can see our lake that fluctuates the most is Lake Cortez. Part of that low water level is mandated flow downstream to a landowner. We supply water to a cattle farm downstream via Lake Cortez, and that's why that outlier shows with negative 19 inches on that. And again, you can see Lake Segovia has no representation on this, and if you are on Lake Segovia, I'd be happy to put one of these on your boat dock. Speaking of Lake Segovia is the smallest lake in the village, opened 1972. It is electric motors only. Have some walking trails around the lake, canoeing, kayak fishing. Obviously electric motor only. It is a no-wake lake. There is no drawdown valve on this lake, so if we need to lower the lake for some reason, we have to siphon pump it over the spillway. And we've got a good population of bass and sunfish in the lake. And our biggest challenge with this lake is access. As I said, a lot of people don't even know where it is. It's off of a side road, off of another side road, down a dim dirt road to the access point. So that's something that we've been working on, developing that access to allow owners to use this lake and to utilize this resource. As Bill said, I like to fish. So that's what we got for each one of the lakes. I've got our electrofishing and compilation from 2016. We did, as you can see, the vast majority of the fish in here are largemouth bass, and we had two really nice fish, which was a big surprise to us. We had a 5.45 and a 4.25 pounder out of Lake Segovia. If you've seen my electrofishing boat, it's big, and we did get it in the lake. So we plan on hitting it a little bit earlier this year, so we're going to put it in again, and we're going to continue working on that and improving that access for ourselves as well as for the homeowners. Lake Estrella is our second smallest lake. It opened in 2000. Fishing, kayaking, canoeing, again a no wake speed limit. This lake is 21 acres. Bass, catfish, sunfish, large populations of those. We stocked 16 Game and Fish supplied 16,000 red ears in the fall of 2015 that we stocked in this lake. Our scheduled drawdown is in 2019, and our biggest challenge with that lake is the boat ramp. It limits access. It's very steep, and it has two streams, one on either side, that washes debris across the boat ramp. So that limits access, and we're looking into what we can do to improve that to make it more easily accessible for homeowners. Again, Lake Estrella, our electrofishing analysis. The vast majority of those fish are largemouth bass, sunfish. We got 13% bluegills and green sunfish. This one in the middle is a big bluegill that we caught, and then a channel catfish on the right. Lake Isabella opened in 1999. Again, another no-wake lake, 25 acres, fishing, canoeing, kayaking. During 2015 in our electrofishing sampling then in the spring, we collected our largest crappie. It's kind of a surprise to us, 13 and a half inches right off the outflow in the middle of the lake there by the dam. So that was a kind of a surprise to us. We've seen folks out there fishing for them, but we catch crappie out of this lake each year in our electrofishing. Our next scheduled drawdown is 2021, and as some of the residents on Isabella will tell you, our biggest challenge on that lake is water clarity. It's a small lake with a very large drainage area, and we have some blue-green issues at times with that lake. We are working on controlling them. We didn't have an issue at all with it this year because we got so much rain in very specific times, strategic times. We got so much rain in August that helped us a lot with that water clarity. Lake Isabella electrofishing. We did collect a 5.22 in Lake Isabella and a 4.44. This is a gigantic white crappie. Not really, it's tiny. It's about 5 inches long. But as you can see, largemouth bass and bluegill dominated that population as well. Lake Maria opened in 2000 as well. Fishing, canoeing, kayaking, again, no-wake lake, about 27, 28 acres. An excellent sunfish lake. This is one of my favorite sunfish lakes. Maybe I shouldn't be telling you my favorite fishing places. This is a good one. I should have taken that out. Anyway, we'll go on. Next scheduled drawdown is right now. If you've been by the lake, if you could get a boat in, you probably could catch a lot of fish right now. But we've got it down about 6 feet right now, and we're going to hold it till we can get in and get it cleaned up. We've got a couple of areas where we've got some inflow, some sedimentation issues, and get that out and get the lake filled back up. Our biggest challenge on here has been the boat ramp in the past. As we have the lake down, we're gonna tear that boat ramp up, probably push that material out, build some fish habitat with it, just out toward the dam, and put a new boat ramp in. The issue with the boat ramp has been the grade is not steep enough and it's not long enough. So when you back your boat in the water, your back tires are wet. You get your feet wet before you get in, and we're gonna resolve that issue. Lake Maria electrofishing. This is why I shouldn't show you these. This is a 11.5-inch red ear that we caught. That was about the average size of the ones that we caught. Really nice fish, big fat chunks just like that. And again, sunfish is the vast majority of the fish population in that lake as well. We caught a lot of bass. We caught a lot of bass in most of these East End lakes, and most of them, the majority, are fairly small, 13 inches, 14 inches. Lake Sophia, another lake with a drawdown this year. If you've been by it, we have it down as well. And again, another excellent sunfish lake. The biggest red ear that we've collected to date was on this lake. She was 13.5 inches long. That's a pretty good chunk for a red ear. Again, a no-wake lake opened in 2000. The biggest challenge with this lake in the past has been water clarity for the same issues as with Lake Isabella, small lake, large drainage area. And we've had some blue-green issues with this one in the past, but we didn't this past year, which was excellent as well. We had the rain again at the specific strategic times. Some of our catch from our electrofishing 2016, largemouth bass predominantly. Green sunfish, bluegills, and red ears. The red ear sunfish, just if you're a sunfish fisherman, a pan fisherman, and you take those fish home, that red ear is just a better bang for your buck. A lot more meat on the fish, a lot better in my opinion, and they fight harder. We got two nice red ears right there, about 11 inches, and a big bluegill on the top. Lake Granada also opened in 2000. This is the smallest lake that we have that has a speed limit, 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on it. Fishing, canoeing, kayaking, boating, all those water activities, but no skiing. You can't move fast enough to get it done. We have no skiing on that one. We collected the largest bluegill that we've collected to date in 2016 while we were there. It was 10.5 inches long. I'll show you a picture of it. I don't have great big hands, but just for representation, it's a big one. Next scheduled drawdown's in 2019, and our biggest challenge with that lake is I really don't know. We don't have any complaints with that lake. So it's been really good, and but if you have a complaint about that lake, please tell me so we can work on it and get it taken care of. Our Lake Granada electrofishing, you can see again, you'll see in most all of these, the vast majority is going to be largemouth bass, green sunfish. Again, that's a 10.5-inch bluegill right there, and we've got some active electrofishers on the front of our boat. Lake Peneda, opened 1974, another 20-mile-an-hour speed limit lake. Lots of fishing on this lake. This lake has predominantly in years past been one of the premier panfish lakes. We did collect our largest crappie during electrofishing on this lake, a 14 5/8 inch this past spring. Really nice fish. And again, all the boating activities other than skiing, our biggest issue on this lake has been native aquatic vegetation. We are working to remedy that issue or that challenge with herbicide applications, and we recently stocked 250 10 to 12 inch grass carp. So they're in the lake and they'll be ready to go when the grass and that aquatic veg starts greening up in the spring. Our Lake Peneda electrofishing, again, vast majority, almost all are sunfish to some extent, largemouth bass and the normal sunfish everybody thinks of. We had a couple of nice 3.5 pounders and a 14 5/8 inch white crappie that we collected. Now, regrettably, we with all these with our electrofishing stuff, all these panfish went back in the lake, but regrettably, this 14 and 5/8 inch white crappie did die. So we did our age structure analysis on this, and she turned out to be 4 years old. Don't know if that's a normal size for a 4-year-old yet. We just found that out this past week, so we haven't had any time to look at it, but we're working on that. We did some age structure analysis on a lot of the bass, and Miss Katie Harmon's been working very hard on that. We're getting very close to being done with it, so we'll have those results a little bit later on. Lake Lago opened in 73. This is our water supply lake. for the Hot Springs Village. There's no public access to this lake, 100 acres. We did electrofish this lake in 2015. We did catch a 6.95 pound largemouth bass out of this lake. But that was the only big one we caught, so it could have just been a fluke. We just missed the big ones on some of the other lakes. But it's a beautiful lake, very clear, very pristine, and very, very little impact from outside sources. Lake DeSoto opened in 72. If I come to the village to fish for myself, this is where I go. Here I am again telling you all my secrets. Fishing, canoeing, kayaking, walking trails, skiing, anything that you can do on the water legally, you can pretty well do it on this lake. We got bass and sunfish, and we've collected some really nice catfish out of this lake. We collected a 40-pound blue cat in 2015. During our electrofishing then, we collected our largest flathead catfish so far in 2016 at 26 pounds. And we collected our largest largemouth bass through the years, and we collected it this past spring. It weighed 10.19 pounds, 25 inches long, and 19 inches around. That's a big bass. I was really proud of her, and you'd be happy to know she's still swimming unless somebody else has caught her since and they took her home. So our biggest challenge with this lake, we hear from a lot of homeowners, is boat trailer parking. There's just not a lot of parking in the parking area, which is one of the reasons why I like it. I don't have much competition when I get out there. Our next scheduled drawdown for this lake is in 2022. We just did this one 2015. So we'll see a little bit of swing. One thing that we notice in all these older lakes, we have a greater diversity of our fish population. There are a lot of different species in this that we don't see in the lakes on the east end. This is one of the oldest lake, and we still got 50% largemouth bass. But you can see from the smiling young gentleman in the middle, that's a 4-pounder on your right and a 10.19 pounder on the left. So there's a great difference in a big fish and a good fish. The one on the top right's a 5.51. Then we've got again Miss Katie with the 26-pound flathead, and then an almost 2-pound spotted bass that we shocked all on the same night. So we caught a lot of fish and we stayed busy that night. Lake Cortez opened in 1979. Again, everything you can do in all the other lakes, skiing, tubing, 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, just like Lake DeSoto. This lake actually has walleye in it. We've not collected one. We did have a property owner that caught one in the spring. His picture was in the newspaper. And we've had a lot of folks, I've had other folks tell me that they'd caught them, but they didn't have pictures. But that could be one of those fishtails. One of the things that we're actually working on, our sister village, Bella Vista Village, is working with Game and Fish to get where they can farm fish. And one of the things that we've been discussing is doing some type of trap net, gill net, electrofishing, something to try to capture some of these walleye, allow them to farm raise those fish to a stocking size, and then split the fish with them and us. So we would be out very little cost and get the benefit from it. But there are some loopholes and fences to jump for the Bella Vista folks. So it may be a pipe dream, but it's something that we're working on, which would be beneficial if we can continue on with these with the walleye, because a lot of people like to catch them. We drew this lake down in 2015, so we've got to swing again until we do it again in 2022. And our biggest concern, as I said earlier, challenge, as I said earlier, is water level fluctuation on this lake. We're looking at different options to better maintain that water level. None of them are inexpensive, but we're trying to bring up everything we can. One of the things that we've talked about is a siphon pipe to holding tanks for the owner downstream, so we're not constantly flushing water downstream, so we could better maintain that water level. Our electrofishing in Cortez, as you can see, again, a big swing a big increase in the fish species from one to the next. We got a big bluegill on the bottom. This fish on the top is probably one of the prettiest fish swimming long-ear sunfish, and we caught some pretty nice ones, and that's a pretty good size one right there. And we back up. We've not collected a walleye on Lake Cortez yet. Not saying that they're not there. We just haven't been there at the right time to do it. Back up to Lake Coronado, 1976 opening. Again, just like on the other lakes, 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, bass, sunfish, catfish. We shocked the biggest fish. The biggest largemouth bass that we collected in 2015 was on this lake. She weighed 7.95 pounds. We were super excited, but we were even more excited when we caught the big one on DeSoto. I honestly believe there are 10-pounders swimming in most of the lakes out there. It's just catching them at the right time and getting one in front of that boat for us to get it picked up. We had a very eventful night, 2016, when we were doing our electrofishing. We shocked a lot of fish, and we actually shocked a 50-pounder on a point, started around the point. We shocked another big fish that we couldn't get in. These are all blue catfish. I'm sorry. Shocked a 50-pounder, went around the point, shocked another big catfish that we couldn't get in the boat. Went just a little bit farther, shocked a 40-pounder. And we shocked two 33-pounders, all in the same night. And we missed 3 big ones that we let get away. So I had a couple of young ladies on the front of the boat, and they were yelling big fish a lot that night. So it was pretty exciting. And by the way, we do all of our electrofishing. Katie and I are are on the boat at all times, but most of the time the folks we have netting are volunteers. So if that's something that you all are interested in, I'll tell you before you get started, it's work. It is work, because we may pick up 700 fish in 6 hours. So it is work. But if that's something that you're interested in, let us know, and we'll get a list started and try to get some folks in the. And we have limited access because we're going to do so many nights, but it's something that we're willing to bring folks in and let them see what we're doing. And our biggest challenge on this lake, again, is native aquatic vegetation. It hasn't got to the point where we saw it on Lake Penita. If you put in the boat ramp, drove by the boat ramp, it hasn't got to that point yet, but we're starting to see it creep along the bottom. And we are developing a carp stocking plan to combat that and be ahead of it as we go forward. Again, big catfish, Lake Coronado. And again, you can see a drastic change in the fish population, again, on these big lakes. A lot of different species. This is Miss Katie down here with a 50-pounder. Top right's the 233s, and they let me hold the 40-pounder for the picture. So I don't hold many fish for pictures, but Lake Balboa, biggest lake in the village, opened 1988. One of the popular things out here on Lake Balboa that a lot of folks do, especially the Balboa Yacht Club, they get together with their flotillas and everybody ties up and they have a nice evening of it. So that's one of the popular things out there. 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, a little bit bigger lake, a little bit faster boats. In 2015, we collected the largest blue catfish in our 2015 sampling, weighed 50 pounds in Lake Balboa. And for those of you fishermen, I can just about tell you where all these big fish come from. So if you're interested in that, I'll tell you where I fish. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. But as most of you all are here, our biggest challenge with Lake Balboa is hydrilla. Our electrofishing, again, vast number of species on this lake, very great differentiation. One of the things that we see on this lake that we don't have on any other lake at this time is this bottom right-hand picture. Those are threadfin shad. Those are courtesy of Game and Fish Commission some years back. And they're a great forage species, and they don't get over 5, 6, 7 inches long. So they're a good forage where a gizzard shad may get up 15, 16, 20 inches, big ones. So they stay small enough for all the fish to eat. And we had Balboa Solars that we split it up in 2 different nights, and you can see that from these gentlemen that we have in the picture here. That we got a couple of different guys from a couple of different nights. So some pretty nice bass. And here we are, hydrilla. We noticed hydrilla for the first time in August of this past summer. Taking some different steps, moved forward, talked to some experts. We have 3 gentlemen here that have worked with it in the past. And we're going to do all that we can to control it and move forward with it. So with that, I'd like to introduce you all to some of our guests here today. Mr. Brett Hobbs, 28 years, Arkansas Game and Fish Commission in this area, working with fish, Lake Hamilton, Lake DeGray, doing all kinds of different stuff. I've known Mr. Hobbs here for some time now, a very good guy. Mr. Johnny Cantrell, Corps of Engineers, Army Corps of Engineers, retired. He actually was responsible for the pack fly in Lake Ouachita, controlling the hydrilla there at a level under the surface that allows users to still recreate without issue. Very instrumental in that establishment. And Mr. Dustin Thomason, 10 years Army Corps of Engineers, again working with aquatic vegetation, and he took over when Mr. Johnny retired. So we had the gentleman that started it and the gentleman that's working with it right now. So with that, I think we'll turn it over to Bill for some questions.